This podcast contains subject matter that may be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
For imprints one.
It's time to open the door in your mind. Sit back and listen to true horror. But be careful what you allow in. Because it's time to go through the fog. This week's story is Cursed, posted by user Bob Burrito to r/scary stories. It was a usual shitty Monday. My boss was yelling at me for not doing something the way he showed me. But the way I did it was the right way. Anyway, after my friendly conversation without my morning coffee, I might add, that's the real scary part, I talked to my crew to tell them about this job we have coming up. It's a fairly simple job, just a crawl space cleaning with a possible sewage line repair. Shit job for a shit Monday. The drive wasn't bad. There's usually not much traffic on Monday mornings. We pull up to this house that looks in bad shape. The shutters are rotted and starting to fall off, the windows are cracked, paint's peeling, and the roof is missing shingles. I look at my crew and say, looks like these folks got more to worry about than just a crawl space. I'm gonna go knock on the door and let them know we're here. Y'all go take the tools to the crawl space. I walk up to the front door. So far it's pretty calm. For a rundown house, the outside didn't seem too creepy. I've definitely seen a lot worse. As I step up the 3 steps to the wooden porch, one of the 2x4s gives out from under me and my foot falls through. I got a nice scratch. Nothing some tape and a rag can't fix. I get to the door and I knock. There's no answer. I decide to call the homeowner. A raspy voice answers and says, "The crawl space is open." I say my thanks and go down to meet my crew. All the tools and equipment is sitting at the entrance, and my crew chief says to me,
"Hey, sir, something doesn't seem right. There's scratch marks on the door and a really bad smell coming from inside."
"Don't tell me you're scared, Dan. I thought you were a tough guy," I chuckle. "I told you, we might have to fix a sewage line. I'll go in first." I get down on all fours, grab a respirator, and squeeze into the small doorway. There's mold hanging from the subfloor, and stalactites forming. I yell to the crew to put on PPE and come on in. Other than the mold everywhere, it doesn't seem that bad. I crawl further back and see the sewage line and smell the leak. But I search and I cannot find the crack in the line. I follow the line back farther and I see it leads to another, smaller cavity. As I'm making my way back, I hear Dan,
"Oh, hell no. Get out. Get out."
Something got him spooked. I enter the cavity and find where it came from. I see up against the wall. Girl, shackled to the bricks. Her eyes are red. Her skin is tight on her skull. She's smiling a wicked smile. Her teeth have yellowed. She starts to move and talk to me, and in the same raspy voice, I hear a cackle. I book it out of the crawl space, and as I'm leaving, I see on the outer wall, written in shit, "Cursed." We call the cops, and a few minutes later, I see the flashing blue lights. They talk to me, and I tell them everything. They go to the front door and kick it in, and the smell of rot is overwhelming. There's blood everywhere. The cop looks at me, and his face distorts in front of me. His eyes turn bloodshot, and he smiles. A terrible grin from ear to ear as a trickle of blood falls from his eye. He says in the same raspy voice, "Cursed," and lets out a wild, high-pitched laugh, only masked by the insane. His ears begin to drip blood, and I run. Through the Fog was recorded by Haptic. Edited by Brad LeBaron, Haptic, and Kevyn Kerrivan. And produced by Flyover State Park. All stories are recorded either with the author's permission or with a Creative Commons share-alike license. If you like what we're doing, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find the links to Haptic and Flyover State Park's link trees down in the show notes. There you can find links to our podcast on other platforms, as well as Twitter and other social media and YouTube links. Redistribution or sale of this podcast is strictly prohibited without the express written consent of both Haptic and the story authors. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
This is Flyover State Park. You are clear to land.